Should you avoid gluten? So the answer to that is it depends. Gluten is often referred to as a problematic protein found in the grains wheat, rye, barley, and spelt. And it tends to be problematic for individuals even if you don't have a diagnosed celiac or gluten sensitivity. So there is a lot of value in experimentation with gluten, starting with eliminating the grains and then reintroducing in a systematic way so that you can evaluate how gluten impacts your own body. So how do you know if gluten is impacting your body? Often we think that gluten will only enlist a gastrointestinal response, so bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, and that's often true. However, gluten can also cause systemic inflammation, which may result in symptoms like headaches or brain fog or flaring up of autoimmunity like eczema or arthritis. So a variety of symptoms can occur. So the best way to figure it out is to experiment and really see what shows up in your own body. Are carbs bad for you? The answer to that is no. Carbohydrates are not inherently bad for you. All macronutrients are essential to the diet. However, not all carbohydrates are created equal. So a piece of broccoli and a bag of Doritos, both carbohydrates, but obviously one is more healthy than the other. So quality is super important when it comes to carbs, and then also timing when it comes to carbs. So for athletes, you may need more carbohydrates in your diet, whereas if you're sedentary or not very active, you won't need as many carbohydrates. So you're mainly gonna get your carbs from low sugar fruit or low carb vegetables like dark leafy greens, as opposed to a more endurance or performance athlete where you're getting more starchy tubers, white rice, and more dense sources of carbohydrates. So quality is super important when it comes to carbs, and then also timing when it comes to carbs. So for athletes, you may need more carbohydrates in your diet, whereas if you're sedentary or not very active, you won't need as many carbohydrates. So you're mainly gonna get your carbs from low sugar fruit or low carb vegetables like dark leafy greens, as opposed to a more endurance or performance athlete where you're getting more starchy tubers, white rice, and more dense sources of carbohydrates. Should you avoid alcohol? It depends on your goals. So we know alcohol is a toxin, so it's low-hanging fruit when it comes to getting healthier or losing weight. What happens when we drink alcohol, because it is a toxin, our body wants to metabolize it as fast as possible. When that happens, we inevitably get a blood sugar dip, and then we need something that's gonna kind of hit hard and fast, like late night pizza, if you've ever felt that sensation, to spike our blood sugar back up. Also, inhibitions are lowered. You're more likely to not make the most healthy decisions, to kind of derail your progress. So I'm not saying you have to give up alcohol completely, but maybe dial it back in terms of quantity, frequency, make healthier choices when you do indulge in alcohol, like clear liquors, red wine, mixed drinks with seltzer or fruit juice, as opposed to high carb beers or sugary mixed drinks.
Is drinking coffee unhealthy? So no, coffee is not inherently unhealthy, but the way that you consume it might be. Coffee actually has a lot of really amazing health benefits, such as protecting against certain diseases, improving your mood, and even boosting your brain function. It's also a great source of antioxidants. However, the way that many people consume coffee can be really unhealthy. For one, you really negate much of the health benefit of coffee when you add things like excess sugar, unhealthy fats, and even chemicals from things like sugar-free flavored syrups or creamers. Secondly, another unhealthy behavior that people have with coffee is simply relying too much on it, especially using it to get through the day or to replace a good night's sleep. So a couple of tips that we have for enjoying coffee in a more healthy way. Maybe only have 1 or 2 cups a day. Skip the nighttime coffee drinking. Swap the refined sugar for a less refined option like honey or monk fruit extract, or maybe try it black. And try not to get so reliant on coffee. And one way you can do this is by taking occasional breaks from coffee or from caffeine. Is sodium bad for you? So with many things in nutrition, defining a nutrient as good or bad, or better yet, healthy or unhealthy, isn't really black or white. Fundamentally, sodium is an essential nutrient, and it's really important for so many different processes in the body. For example, it helps us maintain proper fluid balance, and it also supports healthy function of our nerves and our muscles, including our heart. So a diet completely free of sodium isn't healthy. However, a diet with too much can be detrimental. The most common source of sodium in our diet is processed food, especially foods that are frozen or canned because sodium is added as a preservative. So if you can avoid or at least limit your intake of processed foods, this is one really simple way that you can keep your sodium intake at a minimal healthy level. Natural sources of sodium from foods like veggies that include beets and celery, as well as meat, eggs, and unrefined sea salts like Celtic or Himalayan salt are actually really good sources of sodium. They also include other really important minerals. So you can balance out your sodium intake by staying active, staying properly hydrated, and eating a varied whole foods diet that's rich in other minerals, especially potassium. Potassium helps to balance out sodium, and some food sources include avocados, bananas, Swiss chard, and potatoes. No matter what, we really recommend that you discuss any sodium concerns that you have with your healthcare provider.